fashion designers, welcome back to class. This is Modern Woman Apparel. I want to thank all my subscribers, and if this is your first time seeing us, you're highly welcome. Please join us by hitting on the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so as to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you. So in today's class, you're going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful butterfly dress with v-neck and front sleeve. So without wasting much of your time, let's get right into the tutorial of the day. So as you can see, I've already folded my fabric. So this is into 4 folds. The front is on fold while the back is on fold, because we'll be cutting the front and the back part together. So guys, as you can see, my fabric is on fold. So the front one here, you can see I measured 1 inch, and I made sure that the back one here, so the one on top is the back one. So the back is starting from the 1 inch of the front. So the front is longer or wider than the back one by 1 inch. This 1 inch will be for hemming. Remember, we are slitting this front one. So for the width of this, what I have here is the shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus my sleeve and hemming allowance, and the length is also the length of your gown plus your joining or your hemming allowance. So first of all, I have already ruled my starting line here. So rule your starting line, and from this starting line we'll be getting all other lines. So having gotten this starting line here, what I'm going to do now is to get the neckline. So for the neckline, remember the one on top is the back, it's for the back, while the one underneath is for the front. So I'm starting from here, from this line here. Remember, this other part here is seam allowance, so I'm starting from this folded edge here. For the neck width, I'm using 3.5 inches. So I'm working with bust 40. I divided it by 12 and I have 3.3. So I just want to sum it up to 3.5. If you're on a smaller side, you can use 3 inches, and if you're on a bigger side, you can use 4 inches. So you can just divide your bust circumference by 12, and whatever you have, you can use it as your neck width. So for this neck depth here, for the back, I'm using 1 inch. So for the back neck depth, I'm using 1 inch. Now connect like so. And for the front neck depth here, I'm using 7 inches. So basically I'm doing 3.5 by 7 and 3.5 by 1. So I'll connect like so. Remember, this is a v-neck. After this, next thing I'm going to do here is to get my shoulder measurement. So this is my shoulder width here divided. I'm using shoulder 14 divided by 2 is 7. And I said I'm using what I have here, the rest of this measurement here, for my sleeve allowance. So what I'm going to do now is to come here and come down by 1 inch. So 1 inch here is for the shoulder slope. What I'm going to do now is to connect from this 1 inch back to this neckline. So after I'm done connecting, the next thing I'm going to do is to get my measurements vertically downward. So you can see I am starting from this shoulder measurement, not from this slanted line here. So the bust point I'm working with is 10.5. So this is my 10.5. So this 10.5 here will also serve as reference for my sleeve opening. So you can also get it by dividing your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5. And whatever you have, add 2 inches to it for ease. The waist length I'm working with is 17 inches. So this is 17 inches, and the hip length I'm working with is 25 inches. So this is my 25 inches. The rest will serve as the gown length and the hemming allowance. Now on this point of 10.5, what I'm going to do is to impute the bust circumference. So let me take it straight down. So what I'm going to impute here is the bust circumference divided by 4. So I'm working with bust 40 divided by 4 is 10. And I'll put 1.5 inches for ease. So you can use 2 inches. It depends.
And if your fabric is stretchy, you can decide not to add ease at all.
So on this waistline here, what I'm going to do is to divide the waist circumference by 4 plus my 1.5. So I'm working with waist 33 divided by 4 is 8.25. Remember, I'm starting from here, not from here. This is 8.2 plus my 1.5 inches for ease. On this hip line here, I'm working with hip 40 divided by 4 is 10 plus 1.5 for ease. So I'll connect. Remember, all your markings have to be on the right part of the fabric, because as you know, we are sewing from the right part. So what I have on this hip line here, I'm going to extend it down to the hem of this dress.
So measure what you have on the hip line and put the same measurement on the length of your gown.
So guys, as you can see, we are done with this. What I'm going to do now is to add my seam allowance. So on this shoulder line here, I'm going to add 1/2 inch for joining. And here, this is also my 1/2 inch for joining. Because if you do not add it, by the time you take your 1/2 inch, this will come down to 1.5 and this will come down to 7.5, and I do not want that. So I'm adding my 1/2 inch for my sewing allowance. So guys, this is it. Next thing we are going to do now is to cut this out. But as we are cutting, remember, we are going to cut out the back neckline first before cutting out the front neckline.
So first of all, I'm cutting out the back neckline and the shoulder. And because our chalk did not appear on the front fabric, all we have to do is to draw back the neckline on the front fabric before cutting it out. After cutting out the neckline, the next thing is to slit the front open.
So for the hem, I used 57 inches for the length and 1 inch for seam allowance. After this, what I'm going to do now is to take this back part here, turn it to this other side here. Turn it to this other side here and replicate the same lines I have here. So the same line I have here on this part here, I'm going to turn it to this other part here and also draw the same line here. So I've also gone ahead to replicate the same lines I have there, because like you already know, we are sewing from the front part. Now what I'm going to do now is to cut out my facing. Remember, this is optional. You can also decide to use a bias tip. So I'm cutting out facing for the back and the front neckline. So guys, as you can see, I've cut out my facing and I've also joined it on the neckline. So you can see this is the one part of the front neckline. Remember, we have two pieces of this front part. So after joining the facing, all you need is to come to this junction here and make a notch there. So for the two pieces, to enable you to turn the neckline perfectly. So after making a notch there, you flip it over to this side like this. So you turn this over to this side also and give it a good press. So this is for the front. The same thing you did for the front, you also do it to the back of this. So as you can see, this is the back neckline here. I've also attached the facing, and after that you give tiny notches on the back neckline and turn it over like this. And also take it to your ironing table and give it a good press. So guys, when pressing this down, all you need to do is to put your hemming gum in between the facing and the main fabric and give it a good press. That way it will hold your facing down. So the next thing we are going to do now is to start working on the front part by placing the two pieces of the front part right side facing each other. So we are placing it right side facing each other like this. Now remember, we have 1 inch on this part here, the 1 inch seam allowance that we left when we were cutting this. So what we are going to do now is to join the center front with that 1 inch seam allowance. So what I'm going to do now is to start joining from this neckline here all the way to where I want my slit opening to be. Remember, this is going to be having a front slit, so join to where you want your slit opening to be. And remember that your slit length depends on how high or how low you want your slit to be. So I'll join this together and I'll proceed to the next step. So guys, after joining the two pieces of the front part, all you need to do is to press open the seam line as shown. Now the next thing we are going to do is to bring the back part, face it with the front, right side facing each other like this, and we'll join the two shoulders. So join the two shoulders with your 1/2 inch seam allowance. So guys, I've joined the shoulder. The next thing I'm going to do now is to hem the sides. So I'm going to hem the side of both the front and the back. After hemming the sides, I'll also hem the down parts. So hem all the sides and the down parts of both the front and the back parts. After hemming the sides all around, so from the beginning you hem it all around, you also hem the down part of your dress and hem the other side of this dress.
Now we are going to join the front and back by placing them wrong side facing each other, because as you can see we are sewing on the right part of this fabric.
You can see the right side is up here. So you remember the mark we made when we were cutting this out. So the mark we made there, remember I said you should replicate it on both sides. So that same line here, you start top stitching. So pin your fabric down and top stitch from that line. So you top stitch on this side and also top stitch on this side. Now after that, you can see the slit here. So this slit can be as low or as high as you want. So what I'm going to do now is to weave. So I'm going to overlock this raw edge here. After overlocking this raw edge, you can decide to use a stitch to hold it down, but for me I'm going to be using a hemming gum. Remember the hemming gum I showed you earlier? So what I'm going to do now is to place it here and use it to hem these slits. After this, I'll give it a good press and show you the outcome of this dress.
So guys, you can see the final look of our dress. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you are yet to subscribe, take a second to hit on the subscribe button. Also turn on your notification bell so as to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Please do not also forget to comment, like and share. Till I see you in my next class. I'm Modern Woman. Bye for now.